Good morning, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Magnetic Reversal News, and Shinrin Yoku, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Friday, August 12th, around 11 a.m. Mountain Time 2022. Tourists are flocking back at the volcano site in Iceland, but children are not allowed. We'll also discuss the La Nina potential for a three-peat. Will we stay in La Nina for the third winter? But the big story: Oregon raked by 5,400 lightning strikes, igniting 124 wildfires. Keep calm. It's boom time.
Did you see any of this last night? I love lightning. Well, I love to see it from a distance, and just imagine you can hear that sound. If you know someone in Central Oregon, though, it's likely that they saw it. There were more than 5,000 lightning strikes across Oregon and Washington last night. That map, all that purple, that's all lightning strikes. They started 92 fires across Oregon. They're all small right now, but of course, that's how the big ones start. Let's turn to our expert now, Chief Meteorologist Matt Zaffino. What's with all the lightning in Central Oregon, and what's it say about our fire weather?
Yeah, it wasn't just Central Oregon either. Here's a picture from the Willamette Valley. Rod Stevens snapped this one out near Silverton last night. Rod being the great photographer that he is, and just a beautiful, beautiful look there. And like you, Pat, it's always fun to see it, but of course, we know the danger to person and of course to property with our dry forest around the Northwest. More video for you from near Salem at Tango Master 25, sending in this one via Twitter. Thank you, Tango Master 25, for sharing your imagery with us as well. So it was a super active night. Here's that map again. Every one of these triangles indicating a lightning strike, over 5,000 in Oregon, another couple of hundred up in Washington. And you may be wondering, well, how come we don't have big fires burning right now? Well, these thunderstorms came with a lot of rain, which is great. We need the rain, especially when
So as predicted, you can see here we have numerous lightning strikes, thousands of them. As we predicted, lightning shall be increasing across the globe. Not only the amount of lightning, but the size of the lightning bolts. We just did a podcast on gigantic jets or transient luminary events. So go check that out on Magnetic Reversal News as we dive deeper into what's going on here. Hailstorm batters eastern Oregon. Associated with these storms, a major hailstorm hammered parts of eastern Oregon and Washington on Thursday afternoon. Hail almost the size of baseballs smashed through the windshields of cars and left big spiderweb-like car cracks in them. Take a look at that in his hand. Holy macaroni. Let's blow that up. That is quite a deadly hailstone right there. Now, death toll rises again from the Kentucky flooding, unfortunately. The death toll from last month's devastating flooding has risen yet again. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear tweeted Thursday afternoon that the 39th person has been confirmed dead. The latest victim was counted in Breathitt County, according to the governor. So, just more bad news coming from Kentucky, as flooding is possible across Utah as the monsoon rains pick up again to close out the week. The National Weather Service says the threat of floods is expected to remain in Utah to close out the week as monsoonal moisture persists in the state and across the Four Corners region. As ominous steering currents for Florida may be on the horizon as the quiet hurricane season persists. We do have a pop-up here, potential disturbance number 1 with 10% chance of cyclone formation in the next 48 hours. But that potential that was off the coast of Africa and moving to the west has dissipated and is gone. So there is very little activity in the Atlantic tropical cyclone future. Monsoon continues in the west. Locally heavy rain along the Gulf Coast, and that is that 10% chance of tropical formation we were just talking about. We'll get to the model in just a minute. The active monsoon across the west is expected to continue this weekend with a trajectory from the Four Corners region and desert southwest to the central Rockies. This rainfall may produce flash flooding and debris flows, especially near recent burn scar areas. Meanwhile, locally heavy rain is likely near the Gulf Coast this weekend from the arrival of a cold front and weak tropical disturbance. And that's down in Mississippi and Louisiana there. And you can see that tropical moisture on the entire coast from Tallahassee all the way to the tip of Texas. So a moist northern Gulf there. And that's going to linger for a while, especially in the New Orleans area. And you can see the potential for some thunderstorms here in South Carolina and along the coast later in the day today. Hey, hey. Now, Japanese Weather Bureau claims there's a 60% chance of La Nina continuing through early winter. And also coming from Reuters, La Nina conditions to continue, but odds are lower into the winter, according to U.S. forecasters. Now, here we are over at the La Nina Watch, and this one map you're looking at here is the composite temperature anomalies, what we would expect from a La Nina pattern setting up November through March, and that would be over the winter. And here you can see here below normal temperatures in the blue regions, above normal in the yellows and oranges. And here is the composite precipitation anomalies, above normal precipitation in the Northwest. And here they're having above normal precipitation in the Kentucky region as well. And we've certainly seen that. Now here's the current updated La Nina forecast for monthly sea surface temperatures. Nino 3.4 index values, and you can see how we've been in La Nina for most of the last 2 years. And the model runs in gray, are showing just about half of them staying below the 0 point line, and the other half peaking well above that. So it's anyone's guess where we'll go. What say you? Leave a comment below. Now, parts of England officially fall into drought after months of scant rainfall, and the fear-mongering continues on climate change this and climate change that throughout Europe, as the drought across Europe is drying up rivers and killing fish, but droughts happen all the time, and they are cyclic. Unfortunately, the shriveling crops is the last thing we need with the supply chain issues we have. But the good news is that the GFS model is showing a very saturated UK. Take a look at that. Most of Scotland and England will be under over 150 millimeters of rain by August 24th. The big winner here is obviously up in Scandinavia there, but also France is suffering severe drought. Take a look at all the rain coming to France just in the next week. Good news for south of France. They're going to be swimming in 60 plus millimeters of rain, and that's going to be flash flooding and more issues. But the rain is going to continue to fall in France as well as the UK, so all is looking good for those drought conditions. Seismic update. No quakes of note. We did have an interesting rumbler down here in Mexico, 5.2 at 64 kilometers of depth. And we have a rare quake happening in Centerville, Maine at 2.8. So those are the only quakes of note. And let's come over to worldwide volcano news. The volcano eruption at the Reykjanes Peninsula update. Lava continues to keep the flow active, and it might soon overflow into another valley. And that valley, well, the lava effusion continues to fill the Meradalir Valley on the east and might soon start overflowing into the adjacent, please help me pronounce that, Sutstrangvake Valley. It may take about a week, but some geologists say it could take months. And here you can see people just standing next to that lava front as it is flowing uphill. Pretty interesting. And here more tourists flocking to one of the safest volcanoes on Earth. And you can see the main vent is at the top right there. And it has been consolidating into what appears to be one rather large spatter cone. And the only visuals now are from the weird side here in the back of the spatter cone. So not a lot of good coverage on the volcano. As you can see here on the live stream, they've just changed the views. Interesting. All right, we got a good live stream here at Afar TV. And they're showing here how the micro tremor has died off. A little uptick right here, and whatever this chart is showing, definitely seismicity. But that consolidating into one large spatter cone now could be Bob number 2. So the volcano is erupting quite vigorously, and the fissure is now consolidated into that one spatter cone. We'll leave you links below to everything we talked about today in the update, as we always do. And that's the most work we do here, is putting those links in there for you. Now, massive, expensive, towering hydrothermal vents were discovered deep in the Pacific. These vents are located off Mexico's western coast, and the researchers surveyed hydrothermal vents in the Pacific using temperature loggers manufactured by EP Oceanographic. The loggers collected data every 10 minutes in order to track changes in vent fluid temperature that can be used to infer changes in permeability of the crust beneath the vent. But the most important thing is this is one of the largest expanses of hydrothermal vents at depth ever found. Now, what the scientists did is they sent underwater robots into the depths of the Pacific to depths of 1.5 miles. That would crush you and I in an instant. And so these robots were beneath the surface looking around, and they discovered something unexpected. A football field-sized expanse of towering hydrothermal vents that cropped up in an area. These underwater chimneys haven't been typically seen, so that's kind of interesting. The vents are shaped like candelabras, and they stand roughly 35 to 40 feet high. And just a fascinating thing going on deep in the ocean. Now, the research team leaders from Lehigh University said in a statement, these striking structures gush black mineral-filled water that reaches temperatures of 694 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, the water is likely to start at even higher temperatures, closer to 818 degrees, according to the team. Just fascinating discoveries just offshore of Mexico, deep in the ocean. Mount St. Helens update. We did an update about 10 quakes that happened yesterday in a 2-hour period at the caldera. That activity has dropped off, thankfully, but there has been an uptick in earthquakes over the last 2 weeks, and we're keeping a close eye on it because each pulse seems to be getting bigger and bigger. Now, these swarms happen all the time, but at some point, the swarms will lead to a new eruption. And even a small eruption at St. Helens could melt a glacier that's been forming in there, and deadly lahars would be the result. Here is the earthquake uptick. You can clearly see here in the last 14 days, 82 earthquakes in the last month, and 60 of them happening in the last 14 days. So, definite uptick at St. Helens. Now, a potentially hazardous blue whale-sized asteroid will zip through Earth's orbit today. The asteroid is set to fly past Earth safely at 27 times the speed of sound. And, well, let's hope it misses. The asteroid, named 2015 FF, has an estimated diameter between 42 and 92 feet, or about the body length of an adult blue whale. And it will zoom past Earth at 20,512 miles per hour. At its closest approach, the asteroid, traveling at around 27 times the speed of sound, will come within 2.67 million miles of Earth and probably won't hit anything. Now, we showed you this article when it came out the other day that rainwater everywhere on Earth is unsafe to drink. And this is due to forever chemicals. And these are the chemicals they use to make non-stick surfaces on pans. These forever chemicals called per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, or PFASs. A large family of human-made chemicals that don't occur in nature and are known as forever chemicals. And they're very bad for humans. And we told you so, and now a paper coming out is saying that these common forever chemicals have been linked to liver cancer in humans. And they were once a key ingredient in the water-repelling product commonly known as Scotchgard, which has now polluted the planet forever. Thank you, multinational corporations, and your scumbaggery. Now, more revelations coming. Mars astronauts would get an unsafe radiation dose even with shielding, which is what I said about 6 years ago. Simulations show that a 1,000-day mission to Mars would expose astronauts to radiation doses above 1 sievert, even with metal shielding. So, that fairy tale of people living on Mars will be exposed at some point. Now, more exposure to more fairy tales, perhaps. NASA's Hubble spots supergiant star Betelgeuse erupting in a violent historic explosion. If you watch the channel and other channels, you probably know about the dimming event on Betelgeuse, which occurred back in 2019. The analysis has been done, and they have concluded that what occurred was a coronal mass ejection. Not just any coronal mass ejection, but a coronal mass ejection estimated to be 400 billion times as much as a typical CME on our sun. 400 billion times larger. So that would be a big boom. That would be like an X a million. That'd be quite a flare. Now, all that is assumed from this red line data set, which is sparse at best. But because Betelgeuse is so close to us, There are very few explanations for what occurred in this phenomenon of dimming. And in fact, a large coronal mass ejection is one of them. Some people may refer to it as micronova, but that would be more of a full star discharge, in my opinion. And this is a directional one, the way they're depicting it here from one area. And then they renamed this, instead of a CME, an SME, or surface mass ejection, which would be, well, 400 billion times larger than a CME. And that would be a big boom from Betelgeuse. Now, this could also be the mechanism that creates planets, expelling portions of the star into a large cloud, which coalesces into a planet. Or there might actually be rocky bodies that shoot out of the star during these events, making satellites that then can smash into each other and coalesce. At any result, something very interesting happened at Betelgeuse back in 2019. Now, the Perseid meteor showers, don't miss it, but you got to be up early in the morning to see it, and look east and get out there. One of the year's most prolific meteor showers will hit peak on Thursday night into Friday morning. So, you're one day away, so Saturday morning won't be such a bad show either. Get out early before the sun comes up and look east. Now, the CDC drops its quarantine distancing recommendations for the woo-hoo. And that's good news, because they were full of it all along. If it's still all over the place, why did they drop all the recommendations? Even if you're exposed to it now, you don't have to do anything. And that's crazy. Check out our Rumble channel for more crazy things we can't say on this channel here on YouTube. And that's a boom to knowledge. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. We want to send a big shout out to all our new Patreons. Without you, we cannot do this. And we've lost quite a number over the last 6 months for obvious reasons. So the new people that stepped up to the plate, we want to thank you. You are a hero. Subscribe and share the video. You can be a hero too. And that's a boom.